This wave of energy just hits me in the chest. Like physically, I felt in my chest, like whoosh, and I'm like, and it said, you're gonna move to BC, you're gonna get that job and you're gonna move there and you're gonna start your life. And I immediately started crying. Hi friends! So today I'm going to be answering a question that I get so often in the clubs. It kind of has become annoying to me to answer this because there actually is a really long and deep and meaningful answer that I'm going to go into today, and it's probably going to be about 15 minutes long. And whenever people ask me this, I'm like, I don't want to tell you the story. It's a really long, beautiful story. And so I thought, every time someone asks me this question now, I can just say, check out my YouTube channel, because I answered it there. And I get to simultaneously plug it. So if you have found me from that kind of conversation, thank you for coming and checking out this video. I actually really appreciate that, you taking the time to, learn more about me. Yeah, make sure you let me know what you think. And please subscribe, because I'm really trying to monetize this channel this year. That is my goal, and I'm having a lot of fun with it so far. So I really, really hope that we can reach my goal, because then I get to keep doing this. So the question that I most frequently get asked, besides what is your background, the one, I guess, after that is when people say, where are you from? And normally I just say I'm from Vancouver, because to then tell the story that I'm actually from Toronto is a lot longer, hence this video. So I don't tell people I'm from Toronto, because the question that I always get after that is, well, why did you move from Toronto to Vancouver? And that is the question that poses this entire long answer that we're just gonna dive into today, because it's actually kind of a really interesting story, and I do like telling it when I feel prompted, but it's actually almost been like 10 years since I moved here. It's crazy. Actually, I moved in 2015 of November. So 2015 of 2025 will be my 10-year anniversary living in Vancouver. And this is truly where my life began. Honestly, when I think back to my life in Toronto, it never really fit me. So you will see in this story all the things that didn't work out that led me basically to moving here and starting my beautiful, beautiful life. I grew up in the suburbs of Toronto, and I lived there for 19 years. I had two beautiful, beautiful dogs that I lived with. I was an only child, and these two dogs were basically like my sisters, my children, my safety net, my anchor. Both my parents worked full-time, and their job was kind of their whole personality. So my work, my hobbies, my life, my schooling also became my whole personality, and very much dove into business and arts. I was really into fashion, and at this era of my life, when I was about to move, before I had made the decision and even knew that was going to be a possibility, I was just finished graduating from my business diploma program, and in the summer, I had been pursuing an entrepreneurial endeavor that I had started in high school, which was around healthy living and helping people live a healthier life through meal kits that you would buy in the grocery store. It's cool because meal kits were not a thing back then, and now they've like exploded, and a lot of my friends are like, you were doing that in like 2012, like what? So I was pursuing that. I had just won a bunch of money from my school to like in a Dragon's Den kind of competition. So I had spent the summer just pursuing that, and let me tell you, as a 18-year-old girl with zero connections in the grocery business, which is a massive, massive business, it's really hard to get a product with multiple different sources manufactured and mass-produced and gotten into the stores. And I had actually somehow figured out a connection to a large grocery store who liked the idea, who were willing to buy 50,000 units, and my $12,000 that I had won from the competition was not gonna cut it. So I decided to start a Kickstarter, and I put tons of work and effort into making this and making the products and making different samples and all these fun prizes and the promo and all these different things, and you know, lots on Instagram and social media, and promoted the heck out of this thing. And the day that it launched, my goal was $100,000, by the way, which like is necessary for the thing I'm about to do, but very out there for something that throughout the duration of making this entrepreneurial thing, besides the actual like competition and now the Kickstarter, the first few years of me doing it, I really hadn't been promoting it at all because I was trying to figure out what it was. So I didn't have a big network, I didn't have a big audience, and the first day of the Kickstarter, I had like run some ads and nothing. It was like barely anything. Like a couple of family friends had donated, and I was like, this is not gonna work. And I just admitted it too. I just was like, this isn't gonna work. Like I thought this was gonna work. I put a lot of effort into this, but this is just confirmation that no, this is like not gonna work. And I just let it go. I thought, this is so done. Like this chapter of my life that I have been pursuing for the last like 3 or 4 years is completed, and I need to move on. I'm so burnt out. I've spent all my extra time outside of school and all these different internships and social relations. I spent all my extra time on this project. So I just was like, I'm just so burnt out. I want to walk away. And this was like early September of 2015. A couple weeks prior to this decision, my childhood dog Sparky had passed away, and it was a really difficult time because she was my anchor. And I've learned in therapy now that, you know, our anchor is that thing that is always there for us, that picks us up and keeps us going. And my anchor was her, and she had passed away. We kind of like had a few days to say goodbye. Like she got vestibular disease and she had it, and then it was like episodes kept getting worse, and then this one episode was really bad, and it was just like, okay, like if she doesn't get better in the next couple days, like this is, you know. And it was the first time I ever saw my dad cry, which was like, because we were all there when they like put her down at the bed. And so that kind of changes you. And I just was like, okay, the business, like this isn't gonna work. I was doing this to try and make money, to try and move out of my parents' house. I'd been living there throughout college, and once that wasn't going to work, I was like, okay, I just gotta go. Like, I just need to leave. And I didn't know where I was going to go or what I was going to do. I just knew that, like, Toronto was not my home. There was nowhere in the city, any neighborhoods that I was like, yeah, maybe I'll just move out there. Nothing. I had no idea. I was like, I gotta go. So I went online, as you do when you're having an existential crisis, and I had all these ideas and thoughts, and some of them were like, oh, I'm gonna go work in a farm in Peru and do one of those like work away exchange programs, and like maybe my mom will buy my plane ticket and I'll just figure it out. That was an idea, so I was looking into that. After I had done a little bit of digging into that, took a little break, went on Facebook, as you do in 2015 when you're having an existential crisis. And I saw my great aunt, who lives on Salt Spring Island in British Columbia, and she had made a post. She doesn't normally post because she's quite elderly, and it was just a reminder of her, that she exists, and Salt Spring Island was a place. And I thought, oh yeah, I love going there every summer as a kid, and it was always so magical. I was like, BC seems like such a magical place. I had a friend that I had met through work, who I'd gotten to know in the last couple of years since college. She had recently just moved away to BC. She was actually working for a company called Shopify, and she was working online, remote, doing customer service for them. And she had moved to BC. They wanted people on that Pacific time zone. So she had moved to this beautiful little island right by Salt Spring, and she had a little cabin in the woods, and she just like lived her fantasy hippie granola life. And I was like, oh my God, that sounds like absolute bliss. And surprisingly enough, as I kept scrolling on Facebook, one of the ads was for a job for Shopify. And I thought, oh yeah, remember that girl? She's doing that job in Shopify, or in BC. Like, let me like look into this. And I looked at the job posting, read that the hours were from 4 p.m. to midnight because Shopify's customer service is 24 hours, so they needed people in like different time zones to accommodate that. So 4 p.m. to midnight, you worked remotely, you lived in BC, the money was pretty decent. I can't remember exactly what it was at the time, but it was like more than I was making at my part-time. Actually, I didn't even have a job at that time. So it was more than what my parents were like begrudgingly just letting me, you know, survive off of. And I thought, oh my God, this is going to be perfect. Because if I'm going to live alone, the time I'll be most lonely will be in the evening. So if I have my days to do whatever I want, I can make YouTube videos, I can like promote this healthy living lifestyle stuff. I'll live in a little cabin on the island. I'll have like so much availability for content. I thought this is literally going to be perfect. And I just kind of started feeling a lot, you know, so it's like early September, maybe mid-September at this point. Still very warm and beautiful weather outside. I walked out into my backyard to just kind of process all of this, process this like idea of moving to BC or whatever the possibility was going to come up into. And I remember standing, our backyard kind of sloped up towards the forest. There was these stone steps and a gate at the top, and I stood at the top in the sun just feeling the rays, and this wave of energy just hits me in the chest. Like physically I felt in my chest like whoosh, and I'm like, and it said, you're gonna move to BC, you're gonna get that job and you're gonna move there and you're gonna start your life. And I immediately started crying because it meant I was gonna have to move away from the other childhood dog that was still around, from my family, from my friends, from my entire life that I have ever known, ever, everything was, you know. So I cried and I had my moment, and then I was like, okay, let's do this. Like, hadn't applied to the job, hadn't told anybody, hadn't made any plans, hadn't thought anything, like just knew it was gonna happen. And it was so real that all of the grief of saying goodbye and packing up my childhood room and all these things, going to a place where I barely knew anybody, that feeling carried me through all those scary times of what the unknown was going to be like. I just knew I was meant to go. And lo and behold, I applied for the job and I got the job, and I have an aunt, some cousins that actually live in Burnaby. So we arranged for me to pack up all my things into my car and drive it to Vancouver and stay with my aunt for a couple of months, get into my orientation and training for the job and find a place to live. And it's kind of hard to find these like little island things in a totally another province because you can't go and see it. So I was like, this will be a good landing space. And that's exactly what happened. And over the next month or so, I packed up my life, I tied up all the loose ends and sold things and gave things away and threw things out and packed up my car. And I drove here, I drove through the States. It was really amazing, down through like Chicago and Omaha and Denver and up through the mountains into Portland, which I was like so excited to go to Portland. That was kind of the whole point of the trip. And then up into Vancouver. And honestly, the rest is history. Like, there's so many things I've done since I've been there, so many lives I've lived. I really loved the job with Shopify. I ended up only doing it for 6 months, and a bunch of places I tried to get on the island kept falling through. And before my 19th birthday, I thought, I just need to get out. I just need to move out and be on my own. Found a tiny little basement apartment on Main Street and just moved and loved it and lived there for a few months until the spring, until I thought, oh my God, I should be a stripper. And the rest of that story will be told another day. But that is basically how I moved to BC. So if you have completed this video, thank you. I really appreciate you being here, listening to me ramble about my life, and I hope you found some inspiration or entertainment or anything from this video. And I appreciate you being here and taking the time. I think I said that already, but if you like this video, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. I'm really trying to hit 1,000 subscribers this year and monetize my channel, which also includes 4,000 hours of watch time. So like, feel free to just like play my videos on repeat, on mute in the background, like much appreciated. Let me know you're doing it. I can like hype you up and thank you in person as well, or online.
All of it, the whole process.
I just really appreciate you guys being here. Like honestly, this is so much fun to do. I really enjoy coming up with these different ideas and editing and just creating a world online for my artistry
Bye.
to
See you in the next one.
exist.